Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today, our group want to present about past semester question STA 210. We are from JCS 1434B and this video is prepared for Madam Nurdiana Zamani. Before we proceed, I would like to introduce all of my group members, which are Nur Khalisa binti Supardi, Nur Nabila Farhana binti Muhammad Nur, Siti Amalia Aisyah binti Abdul Syukur, and me myself, Nur Nabila binti Fauzi. Questions that will be explained are from June 2019, question 2, 5, 7 and 8. Now we proceed about the explanation. My name is Nur Nabila binti Fauzi with matric number 2019224158. Now, I want to explain about question 2. This question is about a record of average length in days of private medical hospital stays for men and women. Table below are the data recorded by the hospital. Now, we look at question 2a, which is construct sampling distribution for the difference between two means. It is involved two means as the data record involve men and women. The formula for sampling distribution for two population mean difference is mean for men minus mean woman and variance men divide sample size men plus with variance woman divide sample size woman. Difference between mean men and women is 1.3. Meanwhile, the sum of variance divide sample size for both population is 0.12. So, we write back the number we get in the formula and we will get the answer for sampling distribution. For question B, question asks about the probability that average length stays for men is longer than women by at least 2 days. So, the minimum days are 2 days. The formula to find the probability is value A, which is the mean value day depends on question minus difference mean for both population divided by square root sum of variance divide sample size for both population. So, 2 minus 1.3 divided by square root 0.12. We will get 2.02. We draw the bell shape and look up the value of 2.02 at table 3 statistical table and we will get the answer which is 0.02169 or we can write it in percentage which is 2.17%. For question 2c, the question asks the probability that the average length stays for women is more than 4 days. So, we can see that the question only asks about women population and value A is 4. The formula to find the probability is A minus mean woman divided by standard deviation divide square root sample size for women. So, 4 minus 4.2 divided by 1.5 divided square root 30. We will get negative 0.73. Draw the bell shape and we know that we will minus 1 with the value. It is because we want to know the probability for more than. So, look up the value for negative 0.73 from table 3 statistical table and we will get 0.2327. Thus, the answer is 0.7673 or we can write it in percentage which is 76.73%. I think that's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Siti Amalia Aisyah binti Abdul Syukur. My matrix number is 2019408016. So I will answer for question 5 and before I show my solution, let's we read the question first. So from here we know that this is 70%. So P is equal to 0.7 and sample of 200, so we know that N equal to 200. Okay, so we proceed to question A, which is the question asks us to state the sampling distribution of the sample proportion of the consumer who like nuts or caramel in their chocolate. So, let's see the solution. Okay, as we read the question A, question asks for the sampling distribution of the sample proportion of the consumer who like nuts or caramel in their chocolate. So, as we know that P is 70%, so we get 0.7 for P, and then 1 minus P we will get 0.3. And we use this formula to find the sampling distribution of the sample proportion. And lastly, we will get this answer for the sample proportion of the consumer who like nuts or caramel in their chocolate. Okay, next for the question B, the question asks for the probability that the sample proportion of the consumer who like nuts or caramel in their chocolate greater than 75%. So let's look at the solution. Okay, so from the question asks for the probability greater than 75%, so we will get 0.75, and we use this formula to find the probability, and we get that z is greater than 1.54. Then we look at the table, and we know that this is the answer from the table. Okay, for the last question, which is question C, the question asks for the probability that the sample proportion of the consumer who like nut or caramel in their chocolate between 68% and 78%. So here we note that it is between, so let's take a look for the solution. Okay, so for question C, the question asks for the probability between 68% and 78%. So we get that 0.68 and 0.78. So we use the same formula as question B, and then we get the probability is negative 0.62 and 2.47. And from here we will look at the graph and the table, then we will minus 1, then the answer will be this. So that's all from me. Thank you.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nur Nabila Farhana binti Muhammad Nur. My metric number is 019248386. So today I will explain to you question 7. So the question is, a researcher wished to see if there is a difference in favorite sport of males and females. She selected a sample of 32 males and 48 females and asked them which of 3 sports was their favorites. The results are the follows. At alpha equal to 0.1, can the researcher conclude that sports reference is related to gender? So basically, this question is chapter 5, which is data analysis. So the solution is, so for the solution, we'll have hypothesis statement, level of significance, test statistic, critical value, and last but not least, decision and conclusion. For hypothesis statement, null hypothesis, gender and favorite sport are not related, which is independent. Hypothesis, gender and sport are related, which is dependent. Level of significance, alpha equal to 0.1. Next, test statistic, chi-square equal to sum of O minus E squared divided by E,
where E is expected value, which is row total times column total and divide by grand total, and O observed value. So E, which is we can see in the table that a bracket number. So the value of chi-square equal to 2.385. Next, critical value. Chi-square alpha k minus 1 times h minus 1 equal to chi-square 0.102, and we can get from the table, which is 4.605. Lastly, decision and conclusion. Here's the value of chi-square equal to 2.385 less than chi-square 0.12 equal to 4.605, where it can start in the graph below. Hence, we do not reject null hypothesis. Therefore, we have 99% confident that gender and favorite sport are not related. That's all from me.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nur Khalisa binti Spardi. My matrix number is 2019210246. And now I will be explaining the answers for question number 8. Question number 8 is from the chapter ANOVA, Analysis of Variance. The mileage performance of 3 brands of unleaded gasoline, brand A, brand B, and brand C, was tested on 12 different cars. The car was filled up with full tank of gasoline and the distance was measured. The following table gives the distance obtained in miles. For question A, what are the 3 assumptions required for analysis of variance, ANOVA? The first answer is the population from which samples were obtained must be randomly normally distributed. The second assumption is the selected sample groups must be independent to each others, and the third assumption is the variance of population variance must be equal. Next is question B. At 0.05 level of significance, are the mean distances for the gasoline equal? Firstly, we will write the hypothesis statement. For the null hypothesis, the 3 brands are equal to one another. And for the alternative hypothesis, not all brands are equal. For the level of significance, we can get it from the question, which is alpha equals to 0.05. Next, we will do test statistic. To make it easier to calculate, we find the total for each brand and sum it up. Now, we will find the total sum of squares by using this formula. Firstly, we need to square all of the values in the table and find the sum. And we minus it with the overall total from the 3 brands and square it. Then we divide it with the total number of cars, which is 12. Then we do the calculation and we get 45,976.667 for the total sum of squares. Next, we will find the treatment sum of squares by using this formula. The summation of 1 over n times the squared total for each brand minus the squared grand total divided by the total number of cars. Now, we write 1 over 4 because we have 4 levels from each brand. Then, we do the calculation and we get the treatment sum of squares, which is 27022.167. Next, we will find the error sum of squares, where we just minus the total sum of squares and the treatment sum of squares that we have calculated just now. Now, we will find the degrees of freedom. For the treatment, we get degrees of freedom 2 because we use k minus 1, where k is the number of brands, which is 3, brand A, brand B, brand C. For degrees of freedom error, we get 9 because we use capital N minus K, where capital N is the total number of cars, which is 12, and K is equal to 3. So 12 minus 3, we get 9. For degree of freedom total, we get 11 because capital N minus 1, which is 12 minus 1. In order to find f, we find the mean square first. How do we get the mean square? By dividing the sum of squares and their degrees of freedom. For the treatment, we divide 27022.167 with 2, and we get the mean square treatment, which is 13,511.084. Then we find the mean square for error using the same method, and we get 2106.056. Now we find f by dividing mean square treatment with the mean square error, and we get f equals to 6.415. For the critical value, we will use f alpha, degrees of freedom treatments, degrees of freedom error, and we will get f 0.05, 2,9, and we will use f distribution table, and we get 4.29. For the decision and conclusion, since the value of f equals to 6.415 greater than f 0.05, 2,9 equals to 4.29, hence we reject null hypothesis. Therefore, we have 95% confidence that there is a difference in the average distances across these three types of gasoline. The last question asks us to construct a 95% confidence interval for the mean distances of brand B. So we will use this formula, which is xb minus t alpha over 2, degrees of freedom error, multiply with the square root of mean square error, divide with the number of level for brand B. And then we do the calculation and we get the answer. That is all from me. Thank you.